Hey, you already know it's Monday night. It's 8 o'clock. Here we are. YouTube, Facebook Live. It's Dialogue with Dozy. It's the dialogue. You got Dozy. KV is on assignment. We're actually not too far apart geographically. I'll get to see him a little later in the week, but he's holding it down. I'm responsible to hold it down here. Speaking of holding it down, man, did those girls hold it down last week? I mean, no harm by using the word girls. I got to change that in my business community. Those young ladies held it down last week. Didn't it? Give them a hand clap, everybody. Uh, I'm sitting here thinking I'm thinking I'm Pastor Dozell, and I'm about to say give them a hand clap of praise. But if you want to give God a hand clap of praise for those young ladies last week who carried the dialogue, Toya, Makia, and their Go Giga Creations.com group, man, that they hold it down. I was riding. I was on the road, about get ready to get off the road this time last week. I was about ready to flip the car laughing so hard. They were putting it down. They were talking about their old boy. We had a great time. They did a great job. Thank you, ladies, again. Holding it down. That's what it's all about. We appreciate you. They are our producers and Madam Producer and Company, and they held it down. Go back and look at that. If you want to just have some fun and laugh, and then they do it. It's a part of that group is together on Tuesdays. Tuesdays, I think 3 or 4 o'clock. They'll put it in the chat with Soultify. They got the energy and everything that you saw the other night. They do it for an hour every week on Facebook and YouTube Live. Soultify. Go ahead and check them out. Speaking of holding it down, we got the man himself. He's energetic. He's thoughtful. He has a heart of gold. He's serious. He's intelligent. Listen, he has a combination to help us all be the better us's that we can be. Is that a word? Mama, you tell me if that's a word or not. Better us that we can be. And he does it. We're not going to hold him up. Life coach Curtis Dean is coming on right now. Coach.
Hey, everybody. How we doing?
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. It's awesome. It's great to be back with you again.
Well, listen, we were holding you for a special event, and we're gonna call you back a little later on. And you're like a staple of this show. Coach came on at the very first of the year, and we laid down goals and goal setting and how to achieve goals and what are realistic goals. He's a life coach. He's a chef. He just celebrated. We'll talk about that in a minute. He's a husband. He's a grandfather. He's an awesome brother. Coach, just tell us what's going on with your life, man.
Oh man, it's been good. I just got back off a week's vacation because I do my life coaching, I do my chefing, but I also have what I call a muggle job, my 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. I do talent acquisition for a local company in town. And so I took vacation from that for a whole week, which didn't seem like a whole week, honestly. But anyway, I did. And me and my beautiful bride celebrated 26 years of marriage. We've been together 27 years. We've known each other 32 years, I think. And we've been married 26 years as of July 13th. So we celebrate all month long. But last week we were together with the kids, the grandkids, and we just had a ball all week long.
I have one thing to say about that. Absolutely fantastic. I was trying to follow you guys along on social media, and as I said, I was traveling, but I was following you all as much as I could. We want to ask you what some of the things you did. When I say I'm talking about places you went and stuff like that, but we just know you had an awesome time, and that's what we celebrate. We celebrate it with you. So thank you, Coach. Coach, we want to talk about. I think, well, when I want to say post-pandemic, a good friend comes down and is hit with a pretty tough case of COVID. But I think we're I don't know if herd immunity is kicking in or what, but the cases are going down. The severity of the virus seems to be lessened. there are those rare cases where people are suffering and there are even some deaths.
Right.
However, it's much less than what it was in 2020 and even last year. Um, Coach, what are some of the ways that we prepare to get our lives back on track in the context of really not knowing when we entered this year?
Well, the biggest thing I would say, and I hope this don't get me booted, is we got to stay away from mainstream media. Boy, mainstream media is killing us. They want us down. They want us sad. They want us depressed. Every other day, they telling us about something new to be afraid of or worried about. And I just don't subscribe to that. I believe you got to keep your mind on the positive. I know there's bad things out there. I know there's things that are going on. I know there's shootings. I know there's folks killing each other. I know the pandemic is still here, COVID-19, but you just cannot feed your mind with that all day. Hit the highlights of the news, but if you stay in that all day long, that's it. It's going to crush your mindset. It gets you into a dark place, a depression. And that's how, and a lot of people don't believe this, but when you're happy and when you're full of fun and vigor, illnesses have a much harder time getting a hold of you than they do when you're sad and you're depressed and you're lonely and you're taking in all this darkness, right?
Yes.
Darkness begets darkness. I believe that's in the word. Am I correct? Darkness begets darkness, and
yes.
light begets light.
Yes.
And that's what you got to have. So to me, one of the biggest things we can do right now is stay off of mainstream media, not listen to all that mess all the time. And just, whether it's your faith, a religion, whether it's your family, whatever you have to concentrate and keep your eye to that makes you happy and that makes you just be turned on to life. That's what we got to do right now.
Well, I like that term. I'm gonna coin that if you don't mind. Turn on to life. I love
Turned on
that.
to life.
So we caught in between. I can't. I mask. I don't mask.
Right.
What are your suggestions for us caught in this middle ground?
Well, the most important thing is that everybody has to decide that for themselves, really based on your physiology too. Like with me, I have not had COVID this whole time. Everybody in my family's had it. I'm gonna knock on wood. I've not had it. Everybody in my family's had it. So many coworkers and people around me have had it, and I haven't. And it's so for me, I don't feel like I have to worry about that. Now, I have some older clients who are, in their 70s that I cook for, and they're considerably, their system's more compromised. So yeah, they wear their mask all the time and gloves and all that. To me, it's important for you to do what you feel you need to do, right? If you're going to be out in a big crowd, something like that, and you worry about that, then sure, mask up. And I don't think anybody should talk smack about anybody doing what they feel like is best for them in that situation.
I hear you. Last year, or at the heart of the pandemic, my wife really put her foot down and kept me in this house because of pre-existing conditions.
Sure.
And it was before the golf courses opened up. And I used to walk down the street to I used to walk at the golf course, the Inverary Open, where Jackie Gleason used to play the Inverary Invitational with a good friend. And we walked 3 days a week, and walking there and going to Publix in the car, gloved up, mask up, full precautions. Going there was like a field trip. Going down there and walking was like a kid going to PE. And goodness knows, because I wasn't driving anywhere. But if I had to go, I drove down to the reservation and gassed up. And that was like going on a road trip.
Yep.
So we've come far. And then the golf courses started opening up. They were opening up without the water being available, without the rakes to rake the sand traps and those kinds of things. And I'm saying this to make a point. Two of my friends who have been very, very cautious, very, very adamant, and one of my friends labeled themselves as a germaphobe anyway. And and two of they've come down with this latter version of COVID. And I just kind of think, and then I listen to you say it's been all around you. With every precaution that I took last year, approaching this time, it was over our anniversary and birthday, and had a golf trip planned in Vegas and all of that. I came down with it. Yeah. And I think I was more I think I was more down that it happened to me in view of everything that I had done to prevent it,
Right.
than I was the actual physical symptoms. The symptoms lasted over inconsistently over into October. I had the intermittent dizziness from mid-August all the way over into there.
Oh,
But
wow.
that was the biggest thing. Had a few days of flu, a few days of
Yeah.
so weak I couldn't even walk. But for the most part, it was the dizziness that but I had to fight being down because
Sure.
how does this happen? So circa fast forward to 2022, here we are now. We're in this gray area, this murky area where you don't know, and I get it, economy wise and everything else. We're in a recession because of the funds that it took to kind of help us build out of this thing. But
Right.
we just it's a murky area, and people's lives are just, how do you function? I heard a lady today say that her husband lost his job. He was just reinstated to his job. How do we maintain a mental sanity or strength during a season like this? And I know you kind of answered that, but
Yeah. Well, it's important for that. I try to surround myself with positivity. I don't hang out with negative Nellies. I just don't. I don't have friends like that.
good for you.
We try to keep ourselves entertained. We try to keep ourselves up. Even when Joan and I were in the house during the height of the pandemic, was trying to work from home. I was having to work from home. We kept ourselves entertained. We watched good TV shows. We listened to music. We ate good meals. You can't
I
turn
like
so
that.
far inside yourself and protect yourself. So many people are more depressed right now than they are actually sick because of all these things that they've shut themselves off to.
Okay.
And like I said, you have to judge for yourself what you can and can't do. That's perfectly fine. But you also, if all you do is sit online all day reading about how bad COVID is, or how many mass shootings there are, or how much this is, or how much gas is, and how much groceries are going up, you'll be ready to jump off the top of the building by dark. You have to pepper that with some positivity. You know what? Groceries are high, but I still have money to buy them. You know what?
Yeah.
Gas is high, but I'm still driving a brand new car, right?
Yeah.
I had to be we had to be quarantined, whatever you want to call it, that time with my gorgeous, beautiful, sexy wife. I mean, sign me up. I'll do it again. You know what I mean? You have to look at it that way versus, oh my God, I'm trapped in the house with, my family and my kids. That, there's people who they jump through so many hoops to be able to be in their house with their children for that amount of time, or with their wife or spouse.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
all up here.
So with that being said, and great point. Oh man, I love that. I love that. With that being said, how does one readjust mentally? I mean, okay, so I understand the positivity. I totally get that, but how
Right.
do we adjust when life is seesaw, when life seesaws on us? And it doesn't have to be a pandemic. It could be anything that.
Right. Well, if you want to throw up that first graphic, the stories you tell about yourself, that's one of the things. The stories you tell yourself about why you're stuck or what keep you stuck. You have to find the courage to change your story to get your power back, right?
Mm,
It's like someone who's come down with cancer. You have people who they live in that every day. That's all they talk about is their cancer and how they're sick and all these things. Then you have the folks who go, you know what, I got cancer, but I'm going to kick cancer's ass. I'm going to work. I got things to do, places to go. And they go out and do a different way. And I'm not saying either one's right or wrong, but your brain is always listening. Your ears are
mhm.
always listening. So, me and you were teasing a few minutes ago, and I said, well, the only thing I'm getting is fatter every day. Your mind hears that.
Mm,
You have to be careful what you feed yourself. You have to be careful about the story that you tell yourself. If you say, well, people are still dying, this pandemic's horrible, I'm just going to have to sit here at home, then that's what's going to be in you. Right.
Right.
So you can tell yourself, you know what, this may not, like I said a minute ago, gas may be high, but I've got money to purchase it. I maybe
Yes,
can't go as
yes,
far as I wanted to, but I can go somewhere, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Um, there's still positives that you can look at through all the negativity. You got to find the courage yourself to change your own story. That's how you get your power back.
So Teddy Pendergrass, I got to throw this in. Teddy
Go ahead.
Pendergrass in the song "Wake Up Everybody," he says, and I just shared this in a business setting. He says, "Surely things will work out. They do it every time." I I,
Exactly.
I love what you were saying. The analogies. I'm out of so gas is high, but I still got enough to pay it. Groceries are high, but I can still eat.
Right.
How do we train our minds to be positive? How do we train our minds to be positive? Particularly
It's it. No, go ahead.
no, well, I was just going to say, particularly for people who are of a negative orientation, they see that
Right.
glass half empty. How do we train them in the midst of a crisis?
Well, number one, you have to make the decision you want to do different. Right.
Okay.
It's got to start right here with you. No different than someone who's hooked on drugs or alcohol or anything else. They've got to make the conscious choice that this is going to change for me. It's the same thing with a negative person. We had this friend at work, and we used to tease all the time. If you gave him a sack full of $100 bills, he would complain because he had to count them. And that's just the way this guy was. He could turn anything into a sob story. Now, it's very funny. My wife, when we first got together, now, you guys have seen my wife. She is beautiful, right? And you've
Yes,
seen,
sir.
I
Yes,
posted pictures of her when she was younger. She was
yes,
beautiful when she was younger,
yes.
but she was always told that she was fat. She was always told that she didn't get good enough grades. She was always told all these negative things growing. This is by her parents now.
Wow.
So that when she and I got together, it took so much of me daily reaffirming that she was beautiful and that she was powerful and that she was strong and that she could do whatever she wanted to get her to the place that she actually believed it. You know, she will tell you that I was her biggest fan, and now she's her biggest fan. But
Wow.
she finally had to make the decision one day that she believed that.
I mean, I'm amazed by that story because all I
Me
see
too.
is, all I see right now is a very self-assured, beautiful young lady. I can't even see any of
Exactly.
that, and I would just applaud you for being able to get her to that point. That's
You know, it's really funny because she used to have a problem with slouching, right? She was always hunch shouldered because she was always just trying to withdraw into herself. And now you see her and she's always, shoulders back and, for lack of a better word, chest out, but shoulders back, chest out. She's ready to take on the world because now she has that confidence. Does she have hard days some days? Of course, we all do. But
right.
through all that she's been through, and now she's accomplished great things, having her own business, helping manage multi-million-dollar companies. She's done things that she would have never even attempted before. And so you have to make the decision that you're going to believe things can be better, and then you have to start being better and making them better.
Wow, wow. And she, and I know you're going to grace us with her appearance at sometime tonight, and we'll see her sometime tonight and just kind of share. Curtis, let me ask you this, Coach. Let me ask you this about and it's kind of a little slightly off subject. How
Sure.
has the life coaching profession been affected by the pandemic?
Um, it's really odd. In the beginning, a lot of my fellow life coaches and a lot of us offered free coaching, just
Wow.
because we knew there were so many people who were having to be trapped in their homes, if you want to call it being trapped, that weren't used to that. We're used to being out, being extroverts, living their life, and they were stuck at home. And there was so much uncertainty and things that a lot of us offered up, free 1 hour sessions, free weekly sessions for people who needed them. And we got a lot of play with that. We got a lot of folks who wanted to be a part of that. I haven't found that I get any more or any less clients that are really pandemic oriented, right? Like it's still mostly the people who just want life coaching because they're stuck in whatever rut it is, regardless of the pandemic.
Okay. And how Do you see, or did you see before the pandemic, that people were looking to life coaches more? And if so, how does a person decide? Okay, I'm going to a life coach, or I'm going to a psychiatrist, a psychologist. How do they draw that dichotomy?
It's number one, you have to understand the difference, right?
Okay,
A psychologist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist helps you understand why you are a certain way. And I always say, and I don't say it lightly, that maybe mom and dad didn't love you enough, or you didn't get enough hugs, or like my poor wife who was told she was fat and she was ugly and she didn't get good enough grades and those kind of things. A psychologist or psychiatrist helps you delve into that to help you find out why you're acting like you're acting, why you feel like you feel, the actual, I guess, more of the science of it, right?
okay, okay.
The
Wow,
biggest, I found out I saw this meme a while back, a couple of years ago, about life coaching, and it said the reason you hire a life coach is because the difference between knowing and doing is a million miles.
wow, 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 wow,
You know what
wow.
to do. Like me, I know not to, when I get off this show, not to go in there and eat, 6 Oreos and have a glass of milk. Am I going to do it? Let's talk about that. So the life coach, the life coach's job is to get you to see this is where you're at. This is where you want to be. Here are the steps you can take to get there.
Oh, wow, wow.
Yeah. Difference between knowing and doing is a million miles.
So let me ask you, and we ask you to come on and talk about goals and goal setting and to
Sure.
review where we are at the halfway point of the year. But I'm just intrigued by this idea. Do you see that that individuals are that this phenomenon of life coaching, is it a growing industry, or is it stagnating, or how do you see it moving?
It's definitely growing,
Okay.
because a lot of times, and I think people it's getting more mainstream. Used
Okay.
to only rich people hired life coaches, right?
That was my
Um,
question.
and they hired, it was people like Tony Robbins or Dale Carnegie and people like that, who put you on all these really, really big things. Whereas now, it can just be someone who wants to have a better diet, or someone who wants to understand why they can't control certain cravings or certain issues that they do. And to me, people always say, well, I want to lose weight, you know,
Yeah.
go take a pill, go to the gym, go do that. But my question is, when you tell me that, is why? And then when you answer that question, I'm going to ask you why again. And then when you answer that question, I'm going to ask you why again. We're going to go 5, 6, 7 whys into it. And what you find is that 9 times out of 10, the final why is a million miles away from what that first why was when they
Wow.
said, this is why. It's really, if you just keep pressing in, and that's not to embarrass anybody or make anybody feel bad, but you're trying to get to the root of the problem.
So, Coach, how and you raised a point that I was thinking earlier. Socioeconomics, um, shame factor. What are the things that plays into preventing people from not reaching out to the assistance of a mainstream life coach? Like, and I say mainstream, I don't mean that in a harmful way. I just
Sure.
like that. Okay, I know. You share with us some of your schooling, some of your training, and the mentoring and all that you received.
Right.
But okay, so you don't have a single like Tony Robbins. You're not Paula White. You're not.
Right.
But I listened to you, and you. I mean, I was watching your show, and I just gleaned. I look at your post on social media, and I say, man, what a fascinating individual, not to be for people not to be utilizing more of his services, what he has to offer. So
Right.
what factors come into play that really prevents us from doing that?
I can tell you what the number one factor is, and it's going to blow your mind. People do not think they're worthy.
Oh, wow.
People do not think they're worthy to spend the money on themselves. If I get 10 calls in a month, 6 of them are a parent or a spouse wanting me to help their child, their spouse, or their significant other. because they feel like everybody wants somebody else to get help, right? So when it comes down to the end and we're having that conversation about money, because it does come to money. I mean, I do some of this for free, but it is a profession. I do it to get paid.
Right.
When it comes down to that money talk, a lot of people hesitate and they say, well, let me think about it. And, and it's not because that, to me, it's because you're checking in your brain, or am I worth spending $500 on? Am I worth spending $2,000 on? Am I worth spending $5,000 on? Right? If I told you if this was for your child and I gave you that exact same figure, you could PayPal me in 20 minutes.
Wow.
But when it's for you, you want to step back and think, am I worthy of? Do I really need that? Where the kids need shoes, the school's coming up, and this, that, and the other. But if you're not in the place to take care of those kids, if you're not in the place to be the best you, then a new pair of shoes ain't gonna get it. You need a new you.
So, Coach, how about? I'm just throwing this as an item out. I go and get expensive earrings.
Right.
How does that concept play into what you were saying? I go and get the expensive earrings. I'll invest in me to do that, but I won't invest in me because I don't feel worthy to get the direction of a life coach.
Right. Because it's like, I don't know if there's a trend going on where they talk about rich people. Rich people aren't the ones who wear Gucci. Rich people aren't the one who
absolutely
they're not covered from head to toe in Michael Kors decor. Right? They're not the ones who you have to know that they can afford Versace.
Yeah.
You look at Steve Jobs, one of the most richest men in the world. You look at these guys and all these tech companies. Most of them wear blue jeans and T-shirts.
Wow.
Because they're not trying to prove anything to anybody. When a lot of these folks out here, you get a lot of things to draw attention to yourself. If a man sees me with some nice big diamond earrings on, he might think I'm worthy. Or if a woman sees me with this big jacked up truck, right, with these big tires and everything, she might think, wow, that's a hardworking man. Look what he's got. I want to get with him.
Wow.
Now, she don't know that he ain't paid child support in 6 months because he's paying for that truck,
Wow.
So that's probably not the kind of man you want to have. But the outward appearance and being a man of the word, this people, they decorate the outside, they make the outside look good and the inside's dying and decaying.
Yeah. I can see the masters uttering those words in the gospel right now.
Yep.
Coach, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back. We're going to get around to the goals that we said we were going to talk about. We're going to have your beautiful wife. Maybe you ought to talk about, give us some marital tips out. We could do this thing for a couple of hours, and Kim was here. But I just want to express sincere appreciation, Coach, and I have great appreciation for what you do. I know all the pro bono work that you do, and I know, yes, it is a profession. It's how you want to help yourself live. However, but I know I know that you do it to help people, and
absolutely,
that's a ministry of its own. That's a ministry. Listen, we're going to hear from our sponsor, and then we're going to come back and kind of be serious for a minute. There they are. That's the team of moreGoGigaCreations.com. All of your virtual needs. You just got a snapshot of it. You see this outstanding job they're doing producing this show and other shows that you see. Go moreGoGigaCreations.com. Go. Let me get it right. Go GigaWorld.com. Do not let your virtual needs go unsatisfied. Is that a word? Utilize their services. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you, team. Listen, normally at this time, we have an assortment of little things that we do, and one of them is, are you serious? Today, I want to talk about let's get serious. Let's get serious. I'm often chastised for delving into politics, but I delve into politics because politics affects everything that we do. You just heard Coach and I talking about inflation. We talked about the price of goods and services. All of these are controlled by politics. Politics and the media are hand in hand. Uh, One thinks it dominates the other, but all of these are issues that affect our everyday lives. Everything from that speeding ticket that law enforcement officer is able to give us, that's a law. uh, Politics can change some of the standards by where law enforcement officers work. That's affected by the cost of our electric bill. That's those are the politicians regulate that. So it's everything that we do. But this is to America. And honestly, I am really trying my best because it's not in my heart to do this. I'm not trying to take a political side. I'm just trying to take the side of fairness and righteousness. There is a hearing that's going on. I think the next segment is tomorrow in Washington D.C. now. And what is utterly disturbing is that there's a huge segment of the people with every fact that's being revealed and corroborated, and a lot of these facts are being corroborated by individuals who either work for the former POTUS, or was an advisor, or at least on that team. And all of these horrible facts, our democracy, our very democracy was in peril. Our very democracy was in peril. And the facts that are coming out, we knew many of them, but we didn't know the depth of them that are coming out now. And the polls are indicating that a large segment of Americans couldn't care less, could not care less. Don't you know that if we lose the right to select our leaders, the very facts that I just mentioned, that was just a few of them, don't you know how our lives would be affected? Look at Russia right now. It's a lawless society. Uh, don't get in trouble over there. You want. Where have you ever heard of a 98% conviction rate? It exists in Russia. They're citizens, and anybody that goes over there, Brittany Griner is suffering from that. She's being affected by that now. We don't have this. We have this beautiful experiment called democracy. No one person should supersede democracy that our foreparents put together. I say the forefathers because that's what it was. It was a paternal society that put it together. But it works. It has an opportunity. It has a chance compared to some of the world governments. When Coach and I were in school, we went to school and we had to take a course that was called AVC, abbreviated AVC, Americanism versus Communism. And we saw the perils of communism. We saw the opportunities of Americanism slash capitalism. That's a whole new conversation. However, we've existed and we've done well. You go out, you buy stocks, you invest in a 401k, you go to work, you have opportunities. In some nations, you are assigned to a task and you don't get a retirement. You don't get a retirement fund. You work until you literally fall dead. But not in this country. It's the beauty of this country. I know you hear us talking a lot about the perils of this country. You talk about some of the problems in law enforcement. We talk about some of the other things. But when that is put to the test and Americans turn their heads to it, it begs the question, what really matters to us? I want to go a step further. If 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 the former guy's predecessor had been accused of one iota of these things that are being raised in the conference, in the hearings in Washington D.C. now, I don't even have to say anything further. America, let's get serious. Let's cut out this partisan politics. Hey, people like Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, I didn't care much for that brand of conservatism, but they knew how to get together and make things work. They knew how to get together and make the country work. There's so much division now in this nation, and a lot of it could be healed if politicians, some of the divisive factors that we endured the last 5 years are no longer here. The last 4 years are no longer here. But we still got politicians who won't come to the table and do what's good for the best of the country. Hey, we got people in a particular party that go against their party for their own interests. I'm talking about the West Virginian and the Arizona senators. So I'm through with that. But let's get serious. Let's make America work. Let's make the beauty of democracy be what it was called to be. Let's give it a chance. Let's make this a beautiful experiment that many people envy. Heck, I live in South Florida, where every day people are dying trying to cross the waters just to get here, to enjoy some of the goods and services that you and I, and the freedoms that you and I take for granted. It's not the ultimate, but I'll take it over a bunch of them. Let's get serious and let's make this country work. How does that happen? You and I have to be fair. You and I have to come to the conclusion that it's not about a person. It's not about favorites. It's about Spike Lee doing the right thing. It's about what's best for us, what's best for this nation, what's best for the greater good of the world. Let's come together. Let's get serious. Let's be what we can be and be the best nation on the planet Earth that God has set us up to be. America, let's get serious. Thank you guys for giving me that second to express. I hope I did it without being partisan or try to be objective in doing it. Coach, we wanted to ask you tonight about goals setting. As we have now passed the halfway point of the year, what are some things what are some barometers that we need to use to assess where we want it to be, and some of the things that we want it to kind of where we want it to be at this point in the year?
Well, that's a great point. And the thing about it is we have to be careful how we talk about that as well, right? Because just say your goal between January and June was to lose 40 pounds, right? You will hear people come on and say, oh man, I'm so disappointed. I only lost 20 pounds. Do you know how many people out there would be thrilled to lose 20 pounds? So because you didn't lose 40 doesn't mean that 20 isn't great, right? Mm-hmm. So many people out there who say, well, I want to start walking 3 miles a day, every day. Well, I didn't. I've only been walking 1.5 miles, maybe 2. You know how much healthier you are walking 1.5 miles, maybe 2, versus what you were doing prior, which was just sitting in the living room. So we want to make sure, again, when we're talking to ourselves, when we're having those conversations with ourselves and with others, that we are talking about what we're proud of. Yeah. What are you most proud of so far? You know what? I really wanted to lose 40 pounds. I didn't get but 20, but I'm proud of those 20 pounds. I didn't get to walk 3 miles every day, but I have gotten it up to about an average of 1.5 or 2. See, it's all mindset, because I'm proud that I'm walking 1.5 miles, 2 miles now. It makes me want to keep going for 3 versus I can't walk 3. I'm only done 1 mile. Might as well just give up. Forget it. Ain't going to happen. It's that mindset.
So how do we I'm gonna make up a word, Mama. If you're listening, let's put this in the dictionary. How do we deorient ourselves to from that drill sergeant mentality? There's the standard. Nothing less than this is acceptable. How do we get ourselves out of that?
Well, and that's really hard for guys like me and you who grew up in the society that we grew up in, right? My dad was the kind of dad, either, you hit 100 or because 99 wasn't good enough. I read a book a few years back about business, and it talks about it's all strength based, right? Growing at school, I'm terrible at math. I'm still not good at math. And I wasn't that great in a few other subjects, but I loved history and I loved science, which it's kind of hard to be bad at math and good in science, but I did the best I could. But when my report card came out every year or every 6 weeks, whatever it was, we never talked about how good I did in history or social studies or any of those things.
Wow.
All we talked about was, why can't you get your math grade up?
Wow.
Why is this grade so low? And that's not the same thing bad about my parents. That was the mentality back then, right? Most of your parents back then, that's the environment they grew up in, and that's the environment that they put us through. That's what you'll see a lot on my page talking about generational changes. We want to change the generations. I feel like I did pretty good raising my girls, but I feel like I'm doing so much better helping to raise my granddaughters because I've learned so much. Right?
Wow.
The way we talk to ourselves, and it doesn't happen overnight. It has to be positive self-talk every day. And honestly, every minute, when those thoughts creep in, you have to click them off and go back. Man, I can't believe, here it is 9 o'clock and I hadn't got my 3 miles in yet. Versus, man, here it is 9 o'clock. I got another 1.5 miles in today. That's awesome. Tomorrow, we'll get that too. We've been programmed to focus on the negative instead of enjoying the positive.
Wow. So that's so awesome. Generational changes. I think we both, our fathers were of the drill sergeant perspective. My dad was actually a Marine, so so it wasn't a whole lot of slack in our houses. But one of the things I think we pride ourselves on in our household, and I don't use that word as a person of faith that much, but there were things that I saw growing up that when our kids came along, it was a different approach.
Sure.
And I think we have to be willing to evolve for the greater good.
Absolutely.
I mean, I retired as a school teacher. I probably was a little old school, and probably I probably couldn't get some of that old school out of myself. But it's funny. Yeah, I taught elementary school. I was primarily a PE coach, but I did teach in the classroom several years.
Sure.
But for those kids, I had this old school approach. For the high school kids that I coach in football, there's this understanding. There's just keep working at it. I wonder what brings that about. But I mean, but I just love, and I'm digressing, but I love the concept of generational changes. We got to be willing to evolve, because what reached us is not effective in reaching our grandchildren.
Absolutely. And this is a little bit controversial, and people don't like it when I say it. Like right now, I have to diligently work on redirecting my grandchild. She's 1.5 years now, right? Instead of, when I was little, you got popped on the hand, you got popped on your butt, you got knocked upside the head, right? Do you realize that little children, are the only people we're allowed to beat the crap out of? If me and you were in a restaurant and you kept talking when everybody else was trying to talk, and if I just reached over and slapped the crap out of you, me and you'd be rolling on the floor in a brawl, right?
Wow.
But a child does it, and we think it's perfectly normal to be able to reach over and slap that child. So your violence begets violence. That's what you're teaching them. Instead of, and people call it, you can call it touchy-feely, you can call it whatever you want to, but you just redirect that energy somewhere else. And now I never got beat as a child because I saw what my brothers did, and I was smart enough not to go down that road, right? Because my brothers got it on the daily almost. I'm like, I'm smarter than that. I ain't doing all that, okay? But that's the kind of mentality we grew up in. That it was, and the old saying that back in the day, if you screwed up down at the neighbor's house, a neighbor would beat your butt, they'd take you home, your mama would beat you. But and I get all that, but you're talking about small children, 3, 4, 5 years old, 6. What are we teaching them when we tell them that when you don't do it, you should? I'm just going to slap the shit out of you. I'm sorry about that. Slap the out of you, versus trying to just change that direction.
Okay. So back, and I love it. No, I love the rawness. I love that we're doing this. This is vital. This is going to help somebody. How do we set how do we, for ourselves, how do we set realistic goals? How do we determine that I've got to make this realistic? I got to make it. It's got to be realistic, but it's got to be challenging, but it has to be
Right.
realistic, so that I can have something to pat me on the back about. Hey man, I didn't get the 4, but I sure got them hard 3.5. How do we learn to do that?
Well, and what you said is the most important. It's got to be realistic. I have clients come to me, who have trouble with money, and they immediately want to reverse all their habits, or they have trouble with pornography, or they have trouble with food. And you can't all the time just come to a dead stop, right? A lot of things you have to pare back on. Food's an example. You can't say, well, like I said, between January and June, I want to lose 60 pounds. Well, is that realistic? Probably not, unless you're going to starve, right?
Right.
So I would rather say, hey, instead of looking 6 months in advance, how much weight would you like to lose this month? Maybe 2-3 pounds. That's not enough. I'm fat, I'm overweight, I need to lose a lot more weight. But if not, how about if we just lose those 2 or 3? Because if you lose those 2 or 3, the next month, maybe we can go for something else. And the other thing that we have people do too is we ask them to have an anchor. Okay. And by an anchor, it's something that reminds you of why you're doing it, right? Like if you're trying to quit drinking, okay? Maybe on your phone, you put a picture of your wife and children, so that every time you look at your phone and you want to have a drink, that's why you're not, right?
Yeah.
And I say this in all honesty, with a lot of my female clients, they pick out a favorite outfit that they want to get into, and that's why they're trying to lose weight. And I tell them, you hang that by your door, so when you come in and out, you see that, right? And that's not to beat yourself up about it. That's a goal. Now, I've heard people say, well, hang up, put a big picture of when you were your fattest on the refrigerator. No, that's derogatory.
Okay,
right?
got you.
You put a picture of what you want to look like when you were younger, or like you said, an outfit you want to get into. I had one of my girls that I coached, one of the ladies I coached, she had a favorite pair of jeans she hadn't been able to get into in years. She hung them up by where she went to work out, and she put a picture of herself in those jeans on her phone, so she saw herself every day. So when we go to the counter at lunchtime or break time and about to do something wrong, when I look at my phone, I'm like, yep, not going to do that. I'm going to get a salad instead, right?
Wow.
Those anchors keep you grounded to what you're looking for.
Coach, what are, and this is probably a little late in coming, and this want to be one of the last questions before we get the beautiful Miss Joan on. If you had to select, what are some of the more 3 predominant issues that people come to you for?
Weight loss is definitely number 1. Number 2 is feeling stuck where they're at, right? Wanting to get unstuck, wanting to do something different. And the other is usually giving up something, whether it's alcohol, whether it's pornography, whether it's anything like that. But it's usually weight loss, getting unstuck, and giving up of something. And just so you know, we're not going to get Miss Joan on tonight because she was not ready. So
okay.
She was with the babies all day, so it's going to be just me.
Hey, that's all right. The information you're putting on is so helpful to us. So yesterday I talked about I talked about making it right. Actually, talked about one of the kings of Israel who saw 17 generations or 15 generations of kings who back and forth couldn't get it right, and he just decided to make it all right and to get it right. Cost him, but so that happens. So in the spiritual community, we call it deliverance. What would be a term? What would be a term to categorize it in life coaching or overcoming, if there's such a thing?
It's more of a breakthrough. It's really more of a breakthrough when you realize. I had one young lady that I was coaching, and like the first or second session, we kind of listed out how she felt about herself and why she felt like she needed coaching and all these things. And then you fast forward to, it was like week 11 or 12. And I'm like, I want you to listen to something and tell me what you think. So I start reading these things off. I said, what do you think about that person? And she's like, man, that poor person, they sound terrible, and they sound so sad and so depressed and so this and that's so that. I said, well, what would you think if I told you that those were your words 12
Wow.
weeks ago? And it blew her away, you know, and that was paraphrasing. It wasn't exact conversation, but that was the paraphrasing of that conversation. She had come so far in just 11 or 12 weeks because we started turning what you're looking at, right? If you keep looking at darkness, all you're going to see is darkness, right?
Right.
You have to turn and look at the brightness, look at the light, look at the happy, you know, and realizing that it all lies within you to do. You just have to figure out how to do it.
Okay. Okay. So, Coach, I know you brought some things on, and we want you to get those if you still have them, because we want you to make the appeal and the pitch. Because listen, folk, and we don't get discouraged by the numbers while we're actually live. We can't see what's
Sure.
going on YouTube, but we know people go back. I mean, I'm sleep at night and my phone pings because somebody just went and looked at the dialogue. So,
Right.
Coach, we want you to take this time as we get ready to head out of here and do what you need to do to encourage people to utilize your blessed services.
This goes along with that last graphic that I sent, and it talks about the 3 C's in life, and that's choices, chances, and changes. And you must make a choice to take a chance, or your life is never going to change. You know, people have always given me a hard time for being a gypsy, right? Like, I'll pick up and go in a minute. I'll change careers. I'll change what I do, you know, because I feel like, and it's not because I'm searching for something better or something different. It's just that I know there's more out there in this big, beautiful world that I haven't experienced. You know, we almost took a job offer in California one time, and someone said, "You've never been there. Why would you do that?" I said, "Because I've never been there."
Wow.
Why wouldn't I? You know, but if you don't, you've got to make that choice that you're not happy where you are, for whatever it is, and that you want to take a chance to make that change. If you're not happy with where you're at, write down a list of your daily habits, because your problem is in those habits somewhere.
Why do we stay stuck?
Because it's easy.
Okay.
Anything worthwhile takes work. You know that in the ministry. You know, anything that's worthwhile takes work. It's easy to just sit at home and be depressed, or just sit at home and eat too much, or just do this, or it takes work to get up and put on your shoes and go walk 3 miles. It takes work to decide that I'm not going to be that person today that I was yesterday. It takes work to break generational curses. To realize that I'm not going to treat my children like my parents treated me. And I'm not talking bad about our parents. Don't think that for a minute. They did the best they could with what they had, how they were raised.
Right.
You know? But now we do better because we know better.
Wow. So, Coach, let's see. Let me look at that paradigm again. It's choices, changes. No, choices, chances, and changes.
Yep.
So I think I'm going to be soliciting your services, and it kind of picks up on what you said earlier about just the news. I probably need to be delivered from being a news hound.
Yep.
But I kind of want to ask you along that vein. How do we stay informed yet don't get drunk with the perspective, all of that stuff that comes with what we see? How do we stay informed and avoid all those negatives?
You have to take it in bite-sized chunks, right? You have to take a little bit of it now and then. Like I have an iPad, so I'm subscribed to the news feature, right? And it's kind of all over. There's plenty of conservative stuff on it. There's plenty of liberal stuff on it. There's plenty of stuff in the middle. And I love it because you can read one story 3 different ways and see 3 completely different things, right? This person will tell this story and you think, oh my God, how could that happen? The next person tell that same story and you're like, well, that doesn't sound anything like what he said. So to me, you have to be able to absorb a little bit of all of that, but I only do it in small chunks. I used to, like, when CNN first came out, 24-hour news, right? I used to have that at my house on all the time, 24 hours a day, because I love news. I love being informed, till I realized that it was killing me, right? Because that's all because murder gets
Yeah.
better ratings than baptisms.
Wow.
That's all there is to it. So you're going to hear about murder all day. You're going to hear 2 or 3 feel-good stories. All the rest of it's going to be just pounding you. And if that's what's in your mindset, that's where you're going to be. You read it, you get a synopsis of it. This is what's going on, and you move along.
Wow. Coach Curtis Dean, he's our friend. I know Kim is going to be upset that he's going to be trying to get you back on soon, and that's not going to be a bad thing to happen. We got to get you back on. We can get Miss Joan on because we want to hear her story. What you said, we want to hear her elaborate on that. And
Sure.
I just think and Coach, I enjoyed. I remember being in Jacksonville, about to leave town, and Toya called and said, "Remember, Coach is on." And I flicked it right on. I said, "Man, there are tidbits of wisdom that this brother and his wife are sharing that will help transform our existence." And you've done this last hour. No, and we thank you. We think it's a calling. It's a calling.
I agree.
And we thank you for submitting to that calling to help bless all of our existence. Coach Curtis Dean, thanks again. We'll be calling you soon. Thank you for your always willingness to come on and just be with us.
Absolutely.
We love and appreciate you. And next time I'm in the Ville and I'm due up there pretty soon. They don't call it that anymore. I think it's Duval.
That's it.
Whenever I'm up there, I definitely want to sit down and let's do a meal or something together.
Absolutely. I would love that. We would love that. Absolutely.
You have any closing words you want to share with us before we get out of here?
Again, when you're looking at your check-in, when you're thinking about what have I done, don't look at what you're proud of so far. What have I done so far that I'm proud of? Okay. And then that's going to tell you what you haven't done, and that's okay. But then you figure out how to accomplish what you need to do. What am I most proud of? How am I feeling about this year so far? What can I do to make myself more proud? And remember, the reason you want to hire a life coach, whether it's me, and if I don't think you and I are a good fit, I know 100 different coaches I can put you in touch with. And I've done it plenty of times because I'm not here for the money. I'm here for you to get help. I do like you to pay me, though. But the thing about it is that the difference between knowing and doing is 1,000,000 miles. Let one of us help you get that 1,000,000 miles behind you.
Coach, we really appreciate you, brother. God blessings on you and Miss
Thank you so much.
Me and Miss Joan and family. We appreciate you to the utmost, and God's richest blessing.
Thank you.
Next week's life coach. All right, Dozell. Next week's dialogue, we are going to bring 3 young men who have made mistakes in life and in his landed them in prison. One of them you've seen before. 2 of them have written books. One I just met. He's excited to be on the show. He's just written a book. It was kind of some things that he learned about a particular celebrity's family, and he did a perspective study and put it in writing. But he has a whole lot of stuff to share. And we're going to ask our good friend Calvin to come back on with us next week. We'll do this if Kim is free, and I'll know a little later on tonight. And we're going to bring them on. And one of them is very close family to me. We want to bring them on and share, man, life never shuts down. We shut it down. I think Coach would just confirm that. And so we want to bring this on and talk about it and let them talk about the books they read. And the guy that I want to bring on from local in South Florida inspired me so. His contribution, I don't mean financial, he did that too, but his contribution to a particular political a campaign for judgeship and fairness and righteousness. So that's next week on the dialogue. We're here. August is around the corner. That's anniversary. That's birthday. I don't celebrate. It's birthday and all of that stuff. But we got some exciting shows. And guess what? Kim and I know our game has to be stepped up because that team from GoGigaWorld.com, they'll come in here and steal it from us if we don't. That's Dialogue with Dozell. As I see it, Coach Curtis Dean is an awesome brother. He has awesome word, awesome facts. What is it? Choice, change, and it was another C. Come on. It's choice. It's change. Come on, Coach. Help us out.
It was a chance.
Chance, choice, change. Thanks, Coach. Green Room can't contain him. Y'all see how determined he is. Coach, thanks a lot. God bless you. We'll see you next week. This is Dialogue with Dozell. We love you.